My mom demanded I pay $15,000 for my sister's wedding. When I said no, she stole my credit card and drained my savings. But I couldn't stop laughing. The next day, my sister called me panicking. All right, Reddit, this one's savage. My mom drained my savings to fund my sister's wedding and thought she was being slick about it. Spoiler, she wasn't. It backfired in the most satisfying way possible. Grab your popcorn. Can't wait to tell you the whole thing. Look, I, 25 male, have always known my mom played favorites. It's one of those things you just accept growing up. Some kids get the spotlight, others get the bill. I was always the latter. My younger sister, Audrey? Golden child from day one. Private school paid for, car handed to her at 16. College tuition covered without her working a single shift. Meanwhile, I was grinding through community college and working nights at a warehouse to afford textbooks. You know, character building or whatever. But this was a whole new level of audacity. It was a Thursday evening, around 7. I'd just gotten home from my job at the engineering firm, still in my work clothes, about to grab a drink and decompress. That's when my mom walked into my apartment. Yeah, she still had a key. Another mistake I was about to regret. With that look on her face. She didn't even sit down. Just stood there in my living room, arms crossed, and dropped it like a bomb. Nick, Audrey's wedding is in 2 months. She needs $15,000. You're going to give it to her. Not, can you help? Not, would you consider? Just a straight-up demand. 15 grand. I set down my drink real slow, trying to process what I just heard. Mom, that's my entire savings account. I've been building that for 3 years. Her expression didn't change. That cold, calculated look she'd perfected over decades. You don't need it right now. Audrey's getting married. This is her special day. Family comes first, Nick. Or did I raise you to be selfish? There it was. The guilt and manipulation she'd been using since I was a kid. Paint me as the bad guy for wanting to keep my own money that I'd earned through 60-hour work weeks and skipping vacations. I took a breath, stayed calm. Mom, I worked my butt off for that money. Audrey's 24. Her fiancé Peter has a job. Between them, they're pulling in twice what I make. If they can't afford the wedding they want, they should scale it down or save up. Wrong answer. Her face hardened like concrete. So you're going to embarrass your sister? Let her walk down the aisle in some cheap venue because her brother's too greedy to help family? Everyone will know you refused. Your aunts, your cousins, everyone. The threat was clear. She'd make me the villain at every family gathering for the rest of my life. Paint me as the selfish son who let his sister's wedding fall apart. Never mind that I'd bailed them out before. Covered mom's car payment twice last year. Paid for Audrey's emergency dental work that somehow included cosmetic veneers. But sure, I'm the greedy one here. I'm not paying for Audrey's wedding, I said firmly, looking her dead in the eye. That's final. The temperature in the room dropped about 20 degrees. Mom's lips pressed into a thin line, her eyes going dark. You're making a mistake, Nick. A big one. Don't say I didn't warn you. She turned and walked out, slamming my apartment door hard enough to rattle the frame. I sat there in the silence that followed, that sinking feeling in my gut telling me this wasn't over. I should have changed my locks that night. Should have frozen my credit. Should have done a lot of things. But I figured even she wouldn't cross certain lines. Yeah, I was wrong about that. I woke up Friday morning to my phone buzzing like crazy. I had 3 missed calls from my bank's fraud department and 2 text alerts. My stomach dropped before I even opened them. Logged into my banking app and my worst fears were confirmed. My available credit cratered. Nearly $15,000 in pending charges posted overnight. My checking balance was untouched. This was all on my credit card. The transaction history made me want to put my fist through the wall. Wedding venue deposit, $5,000. Catering down payment, $4,500. Photography package, $2,800. Florist, $1,500. Dress alterations, $980. Reception decorations, $467. The charges kept going, all made within a 6-hour window. All on my credit card I kept locked in my desk drawer. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely dial the bank. Spent 20 minutes on the phone confirming what I already knew. Someone had used my card for a shopping spree, and that someone had my full card details including the CVV code. The fraud rep asked if anyone had access to my apartment. My mother has a key, I said, and she demanded this exact amount yesterday. The rep went quiet for a second. Sir, I'm very sorry, but you'll need to file a police report for fraud. We can start the dispute process, but with family involvement, this could get complicated. I hung up and just sat there on my couch, trying to wrap my head around it. My own mother had broken into my apartment, found my credit card, and ran up nearly $15,000 on my card to fund my sister's wedding. Not asked, not borrowed, stole. My buddy Kai, we'd worked together for 5 years, called right then for our usual Friday coffee run. Heard something in my voice when I answered. You sound like someone pissed in your cereal. What happened, dude? I told him everything. He was silent for a long moment, then said, Bro, you need to handle this now or they'll keep doing it forever. He was right. This wasn't just about the money anymore. This was about my mother thinking she could rob me and face zero consequences. I called my mom. She picked up on the third ring, sounding cheerful, like she hadn't just committed felony fraud 12 hours earlier. Morning, Nick. I hope you've had time to think about... You stole my credit card. I cut her off, voice cold. You stole $15,000. Silence. Then in that patronizing tone she'd perfected, Oh, don't be so dramatic. I didn't steal anything. I just handled things. Audrey needed help and you were being stubborn. You'll thank me later when you see how beautiful the wedding is. The nerve on this woman. She didn't even deny it. Didn't apologize. She acted like she's doing me a favor. I want my card back. Now. And you're going to cancel every single one of those charges. She laughed. Nick, honey, it's already done. The deposits are non-refundable. Just accept it and move on. Besides, what are you going to do? Call the police on your own mother. There it was. The real power play. She thought I wouldn't press charges because of family loyalty, because of how it would look, because she'd raised me to never cause a scene. Too bad she'd miscalculated. I laughed too, but there was no humor in it. Well, about that. You've got 24 hours to return the money, all of it, or I'm filing a police report. You wouldn't dare. I hung up. Then I called the bank back and officially reported the card stolen and all charges as fraudulent. The rep walked me through the next steps, including filing a police report, which I scheduled for the next morning. Then I did something that would pay off later. I called my dad. See, my parents divorced when I was 19, about 6 years ago. Dad had moved 2 states over, remarried, built a new life. The divorce had been messy. Dad discovered Mom had been siphoning money from their joint accounts for years. It's why he left. He picked up on the second ring. Nick, is everything okay? Dad, I need to ask you something about the will you told me about before. The one Grandpa left. Saturday morning, I showed up at the police station with printed bank statements, transaction records, text message screenshots, and a timeline of events. The officer who took my report, Detective Bella, was professional, but skeptical at first. You're filing charges against your mother for credit card fraud? She asked, reviewing the documents. Yeah. She stole my card from my apartment and spent my entire savings without permission. I have evidence she was in my apartment. That got her attention. I pulled up the security footage on my phone, something I'd requested from my building manager that morning. Clear as day, there's my mom sneaking into my place in the middle of the night, leaving 40 minutes later with a small purse. Detective Bella's expression shifted from skeptical to seriously concerned. This is substantial evidence, Mr. Callahan. With this footage and the financial records, we can definitely move forward. Are you certain you want to press charges? I'm certain. She nodded and started the paperwork. Told me it would take a few days to process, that they'd need to interview my mother and Audrey, and that I should prepare for potential backlash. I was counting on the backlash. It was part of the plan. Meanwhile, Mom had apparently told Audrey what happened because my phone started blowing up with texts from my sister. Angry ones. How could you do this to me? My wedding is in 8 weeks. Everyone is going to know what a selfish jerk you are. I hope you're happy ruining my special day. Actually, I was. I didn't respond to any of them. Just screenshotted everything and added it to my evidence folder. Sunday evening, I got a call from my uncle, Mom's brother Paul. He'd always been more reasonable than her, though he usually stayed out of family drama. Emphasis on usually. Nick, your mother called me in hysterics. Says you're trying to have her arrested over a misunderstanding? Uncle Paul, she stole my credit card and spent $15,000 without permission. That's not a misunderstanding. He sighed. Look, I'm not saying what she did was right, but is this really worth tearing the family apart? Can't you just work it out? Yes, I'm pretty sure he meant, can't you just let her rob you in peace? She had a chance to make it right. She refused. This isn't about the money anymore. It's about them thinking they can do whatever they want without consequences. There was a long pause. Your mom mentioned something about fighting this. Said she has resources. That made my blood run cold. Resources meant lawyers, which is exactly why my conversation with Dad the other day was so important. After I hung up, I pulled out the folder Dad had overnighted to me. Inside was documentation about my grandfather's estate, specifically the trust fund he'd set up before he died 4 years ago. Grandpa had been a successful small business owner and sold his company for a decent chunk of change. Split the money between his kids and grandkids, but with very specific conditions outlined in the trust. The key clause, buried in legal language: any beneficiary convicted of fraud, theft, embezzlement, or financial crimes against another family member shall forfeit their entire share of the trust to be redistributed to the remaining beneficiaries. Mom's share? $180,000, currently sitting in a managed trust she couldn't access until she turned 62 next year. Audrey had a smaller share, $45,000, set to unlock when she turned 28. The best part? Grandpa had named me as the secondary trustee after Dad. If Mom got convicted of fraud, I'd have authority to enforce the forfeiture clause. Every penny would be redistributed to me and my cousins. Dad had warned me about this clause years ago when the will was read. Said Grandpa specifically included it because he'd seen Mom's manipulative tendencies and wanted to protect the family from them. At the time, I thought it was paranoid. Now, it was my nuclear option. Monday morning, I got a call from Detective Bella. "Mr. Callahan, we've reviewed your case. Given the evidence, we're moving forward with charges. Your mother will be contacted this week for questioning." "What about my sister?" "She knowingly benefited from the fraud." "That's trickier. If she genuinely didn't know the money was stolen, we can't charge her. But we'll be asking questions." After we hung up, I texted Audrey. One simple message: "Every charge made on my stolen card needs to be refunded immediately. You have 48 hours. Her response came within minutes. "Are you insane? The deposits are non-refundable. The wedding is in 7 weeks. I'm not canceling anything." I sent back, "Then you'll be getting married while Mom's dealing with fraud charges. Your choice. You're bluffing. You won't actually do this." I didn't respond. Wednesday morning, the bomb dropped. Detective Bella and another officer showed up at Mom's house to question her about the fraud charges. My aunt, who lived nearby, texted me within an hour with a play-by-play. Said the cops were there for 90 minutes, that Mom came out looking pale and shaken, that Audrey screamed at them from the driveway. That afternoon, my phone rang. Mom's lawyer. Some guy named Richard Voss, who apparently specialized in family law and white-collar defense. Wonderful. "Mr. Callahan, I represent Eleanor Callahan regarding the allegations you've made. I'm calling to discuss a resolution. My client admits there was a misunderstanding regarding the use of your credit card. She's prepared to set up a payment plan to return the $15,000 over the course of 12 months. In exchange, you drop the charges." I almost laughed. 12 months? A payment plan? For stolen money? Your client stole my card and committed fraud. There's video evidence. This isn't a misunderstanding, it's a crime. The answer is no. His tone hardened. "Mr. Callahan, I'd advise you to reconsider. Pursuing criminal charges against your mother will be expensive, time-consuming, and will permanently damage your family relationships. Is that really worth $15,000? "Yes," I said flatly. "Very well. But I should warn you, we'll be mounting a vigorous defense. This will get ugly. Waiting for it." I hung up. After I hung up, my phone immediately started buzzing with texts from various family members. My Aunt Laura, Uncle Paul, even some cousins I barely talked to. All of them trying to convince me to drop the charges, to be the bigger person, to think about Audrey's wedding. Not one of them called what Mom did wrong. It was all about protecting her and making sure Audrey's big day wasn't ruined. Funny how family comes first only applies when they need something from me. Everyone knew Mom played favorites, knew she manipulated people, and knew Audrey was spoiled rotten. But they all went along with it because it was easier than confronting them. Well, I was done making things easy. That evening, Kai came over with pizza and drinks. He'd been checking in daily since the theft, making sure I was holding up. "So they lawyered up," he said. "Does that mean you're in trouble?" "Nah. I've got security footage, bank records, and her own admission on a recorded call. She's screwed and she knows it. The lawyer's just trying to minimize damage." "What about the wedding?" I pulled up Audrey's Instagram on my phone. She'd posted a long, dramatic story about how her toxic brother was trying to ruin her special day, and how family should support each other. Comments were mostly supportive. Her friends didn't know the full story. "She's playing the victim card hard," I said. Kai shook his head. "Man, your family's something else. What's your endgame here?" I told him about the trust fund, about Grandpa's forfeiture clause, about the $180,000 Mom would lose if convicted. He let out a low whistle. "Dang, that's tactical. It's justice. She spent my whole life taking from me. Money, time, peace of mind. Now she's about to learn a lesson. And Audrey? She's collateral damage. She could have done the right thing and refunded the charges. Instead, she's playing the victim. Kai raised his drink. Gotta say, man, I respect the heck out of this. Most people would have folded by now. The next few days were a blur of legal preparation. Detective Bella called with updates. The investigation was moving forward. They'd seized Mom's financial records and found evidence of other questionable transactions. Apparently, this wasn't the first time Mom had borrowed family members' money without asking. Friday afternoon, exactly 1 week after the theft, I got a call from Peter, Audrey's fiancé. I barely knew the guy, but he sounded stressed. Nick, man, we need to talk. Can you meet me for coffee? Just us? Interesting. I agreed to meet him Saturday morning. Saturday morning, I showed up at the coffee shop early, got myself situated in a back corner booth where we could talk privately. Peter arrived 10 minutes later looking nervous, and like he hadn't slept in days. He sat across from me. Thanks for meeting me. I know things are really messed up right now. That's one way to put it. He took a breath. Look, I need you to understand something. I didn't know your mom stole that money. Audrey told me you'd agreed to contribute to the wedding, that you were happy to help. I leaned back studying him. He seemed genuine. And you believe that? Even though I've never spoken to you about the wedding once? Audrey said you two had a complicated relationship, that you were more comfortable talking through your mom. I thought it was weird, but he trailed off, running a hand through his hair. I wanted to believe her. We're getting married in 7 weeks. So what changed? The cops showed up at her apartment Thursday to ask questions. I was there, heard everything. When they left, I asked her point blank if she knew the money was stolen. She broke down and admitted everything. That got my attention. Everything? Peter nodded, looking sick. Your mom didn't just steal your card that night. She'd been planning it for weeks. Had Audrey scope out your apartment during a visit 2 months ago to figure out where you kept your wallet, your documents, everything. Audrey was the one who suggested hitting the account at night when you'd be asleep and less likely to notice right away. My hands clenched into fists under the table. So Audrey wasn't just a passive beneficiary. She was an active participant. The whole surprised sister act was exactly that. An act. She planned this with Mom? I asked, keeping my voice level. Yeah. Apparently your mom had been trying to figure out how to access your money for months. Audrey's the one who pointed out you'd probably say no if asked directly, so they needed to just take it. And here I thought my trust issues couldn't get any worse. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Peter looked me in the eye. Because I'm not marrying someone who helps rob their own brother. I called off the wedding this morning. The words hung in the air between us. I hadn't expected that. You called it off? Gave her back the ring an hour before I came here. I told her I can't build a life with someone capable of that kind of deception. She's been calling and texting nonstop, but I blocked her. He pulled out his phone, showed me a string of increasingly frantic messages from Audrey. Peter, please. And it was Mom's idea, and I'll make it right. And finally, you're going to regret this. She also said she'd tell everyone I left her at the altar, that I cheated, whatever makes her look like the victim. I'm prepared for it, though. I already told my family the truth. I respected that. Guy had a backbone. What do you need from me? Nothing, really. Nothing. Just wanted you to know that not everyone in this situation is against you, and I thought you should know the full extent of what they planned. There's more. Of course there was. Peter pulled out his phone again, opened his photos, and showed me screenshots of text messages between Audrey and Mom, plans to access my apartment, discussions about which vendors to book, even a message from Audrey saying Nick's too passive to actually follow through with charges. He'll fold once the wedding gets close. That one stung. Can I get copies of these? I asked. Already emailed them to you. Figure the cops might want them for their case. We talked for another 30 minutes. When we parted ways, Peter shook my hand. For what it's worth, I'm sorry you're dealing with this. Your family's been making you think you're the problem. You're not. They are. I drove home in a daze, mind racing. Audrey had actively worked with Mom to rob me, all while posting on social media about how excited she was for her wedding, how blessed she felt, how much she loved her family. The manipulation was breathtaking. That afternoon, I forwarded Peter's screenshots to Detective Bella. She called me 20 minutes later. Mr. Callahan, these messages changed things significantly. If Audrey knowingly participated in planning the fraud, we can charge her as an accomplice. Are you prepared for that? I thought about all the times Audrey had gotten away with things growing up. The lies, the stolen money when we were kids, the time she wrecked my car and blamed it on me. Mom had always protected her, always made excuses. Yes, I said. Charge her. The following week was chaos. Detective Bella brought Audrey in for questioning Monday morning. Based on the text messages Peter provided, they had enough evidence to charge her as an accomplice to fraud. She was arrested Tuesday afternoon. My phone exploded with messages from family members. Again, all of them were outraged that I'd let the police arrest Audrey, like I'd personally showed up with handcuffs. The best part? Mom's lawyer called me Wednesday, his tone completely different from before. Professional panic. Mr. Callahan, given the recent developments with your sister's arrest, my client would like to propose a settlement. She'll return the full $15,000 immediately and cover all your legal costs. In exchange, no. Mr. Callahan, please listen. I said no. Your client had multiple chances to make this right. Now she gets to face the consequences. The prosecutor is talking about jail time, potentially 2 to 5 years for fraud and identity theft. Is that really what you want for your mother? What I want is for her to be held accountable, for once in her life. And honestly, what I wanted was to stop getting phone calls from expensive lawyers who bill by the minute. He tried a few more angles, family healing, fresh starts, thinking about the bigger picture. I shut all of it down. Finally, he sighed heavily. You're making a serious mistake, Mr. Callahan. This will haunt you. Nah, I can live with it. Friday afternoon brought the moment I'd been waiting for. Detective Bella called with an update. Mr. Callahan, your mother has been formally charged with credit card fraud, identity theft, and felony theft. Your sister's been charged as an accomplice. They're both looking at significant jail time if convicted. However, the prosecutor's office has indicated they'd be open to a plea deal if both defendants show remorse and make full restitution. What kind of plea deal? Probation, community service, criminal record, no jail time if they cooperate and pay everything back immediately. But there's a catch. They'd have to allocate in court. Admit what they did publicly. Allocution meant standing before a judge and confessing their crimes on the record. Public humiliation, legal consequences, and a permanent criminal record. When would this happen? Hearings scheduled for Monday. Both your mother and sister would need to agree to the terms by the end of day today. Otherwise, this goes to trial. I thanked her and hung up. Then I waited. Wondered if Mom would swallow her pride and take the deal, or if her ego would force a trial. My phone rang 2 hours later. Mom's number. I let it go to voicemail. She called 3 more times, then left a message. Her voice was shaking. Nick, please pick up. We need to talk about Monday. The lawyer says, he says we should take the plea deal, that we don't have a choice. But that means admitting everything in court. Everyone will know. Please, there has to be another way. Call me back. I didn't respond. Saturday morning, Audrey tried calling from a different number. Probably a friend's phone since I'd blocked her. I didn't pick up. She left a voicemail too. Nick, it's me. Look, I know you're angry, but please don't let this go to court. Peter left me. The wedding's canceled. All my friends know what happened. I've lost everything. I'm begging you to drop the charges. I'll pay you back myself, I promise. I'll get a job. I'll do whatever it takes. Just please don't make us go through with this. Her voice cracked at the end. Then she sobbed. Part of me felt a twinge of something. Not quite sympathy, but maybe pity. Then I remembered her text to Mom. Nick's too passive to actually follow through. I didn't respond. Turns out I'm extremely passive. Passively watching this whole thing unfold from the comfort of my couch. Monday morning, I showed up at the courthouse. Detective Bella had told me I didn't have to be there, but I wanted to see this through. I wanted to watch them face what they'd done. Call it closure, call it petty. I call it both. The courtroom was small, filled with the usual mix of defendants, lawyers, and family members. I sat in the back row. Mom and Audrey were in the front with their lawyer, both dressed like they were attending a funeral. Audrey's eyes red from crying, going for that sympathetic defendant look. Cute. The judge, an older woman named Harper, called the case. Mom and Audrey stood as the charges were read out loud. Judge Harper looked at them over her glasses. How do you plead? The lawyer cleared his throat. Your Honor, both defendants wish to enter guilty pleas and accept the prosecution's plea agreement. Very well. Mrs. Callahan. Miss Callahan, you understand that by pleading guilty, you're admitting to these crimes on the record? That you'll have a criminal history? Mom's voice was barely a whisper. Yes, Your Honor. Audrey just nodded, unable to speak. Then allocate. Tell me what you did. This was it. The moment of truth. Mom took a shaky breath and began speaking, her voice hollow. I entered my son's apartment without permission in the middle of the night. I took his credit card from his desk. I used it to make charges totaling $15,000 for my daughter's wedding expenses. I did this knowing he had refused to give me the money. I did this intentionally and without his consent. Judge Harper turned to Audrey. And you, Miss Callahan? Audrey's voice cracked. I helped plan it. I told my mother where my brother kept his credit card. I knew the money was being taken without permission. I spent that money on my wedding knowing it was stolen. The courtroom was silent. Judge Harper stared at them for a long moment. Beautiful. This court accepts your guilty pleas. You'll each serve 3 years probation, complete 200 hours of community service, and make restitution of $15,000 with an initial payment due in 30 days and the remainder on a probation schedule. You'll also attend court-ordered counseling. Any violation of probation terms will result in immediate jail time. They both nodded, humiliated. As everyone filed out of the courtroom, Mom caught sight of me in the back row. Our eyes met. Hers were filled with tears, with defeat, with something that might have been regret. I felt, well, dandy. Outside the courthouse, Audrey tried to approach me. Her lawyer pulled her back, probably afraid she'd make things worse. She called out anyway. Nick, please can we talk? I walked to my car without responding, got in, and drove away. 3 days after the court hearing, my phone started ringing again. Mom first, then Audrey, then various family members. All of them wanting to talk, to work things out, to move past this. I ignored all of them for 48 hours. Let them stew in the consequences of their actions. Let them wonder if I'd ever speak to them again. Then Friday morning, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Answered it out of curiosity. Is this Nick Callahan? A woman's voice, professional and clipped. Yeah. Who's this? I'm Jennifer Walters from Cornerstone Bank. I'm calling regarding Eleanor Callahan and Audrey Callahan. They've listed you as a point of contact for a loan application. My blood ran cold. What loan application? They're applying for a joint personal loan of $15,000 to make restitution payment to you as ordered by the court. However, given their recent criminal convictions, the application has been flagged. We need to verify some information with you. So they were trying to get a loan to pay me back, probably at a terrible interest rate which they'd then blame me for somehow. I could already hear it. Nick forced us to take out a predatory loan. I'm not involved in their financial decisions, I said firmly. Whatever they choose to do is their business. Understood. I just needed to confirm you're the victim in their fraud case. We've verified through public records, so that's all I needed. Thank you for your time. She hung up. I sat there thinking. The 30-day deadline for restitution was approaching, and they didn't have the money. Mom probably couldn't access her trust fund yet, and Audrey had no income. Good. That afternoon, I finally called my dad. Nick, been trying to reach you, saw the court records. Heck of a week. You could say that. Listen, I need to know about executing the forfeiture clause in Grandpa's trust. Mom was convicted of fraud against me. That triggers the clause, right? He was quiet for a moment. Yeah, it does. You want to go through with it? Yeah, I want to enforce it. I'll send you the trustee documentation. You'll need to file notice with the court and the trust administrator. Takes about 60 days to process, but once it's done, her share gets redistributed. You'll get the largest portion since you're the victim. And Audrey? Her share's tied to the same clause. If she's convicted of fraud against family, she loses it too. Both of them forfeit a combined $225,000. I let that sink in. 225 grand. More than enough to cover what they'd stolen from me 15 times over. Do it, I said. File the paperwork. That evening, I drove to my mom's house for the first time since the theft. Didn't go inside. Just sat in my car across the street watching. The lights were on. I could see shadows moving around inside. Wondered what they were saying, if they were fighting, if they were crying. Probably planning which relative to guilt trip next. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. I know you're outside. Please come in. We need to talk. Of course she'd seen me. Woman had eyes like a hawk. I got out of the car and walked to the front door. It opened before I could knock. Mom stood there looking like she'd aged 10 years in 2 weeks. I stepped inside. Audrey was on the couch looking equally wrecked. We need to discuss the restitution payment, Mom said, gesturing to the dining room table covered in papers. Loan applications, budget spreadsheets, bank statements. We don't have $15,000 in liquid cash. The bank's offering a loan, but the interest rate is 23%. It'll take us 5 years to pay it off. Not my problem, I said flatly. Audrey's head snapped up. What do you mean, not your problem? You're the one who pressed charges? You're the one who put us in this position. No, you're the ones who stole from me. How can you be so heartless? Audrey stood up, voice rising. Family forgives each other. You're supposed to... I'm supposed to what? I cut her off. Let you rob me and say thank you? That's not how family works, Audrey. That's how abuse works. And also, pretty sure the family doesn't case your apartment like a heist movie. But maybe I missed that Hallmark special. Mom held up a hand. Everyone calm down. Nick, please. There has to be a way we can work this out. What if we set up a payment plan with you directly? Smaller amounts over time? You mean like the 12-month plan your lawyer proposed? That I already rejected? We're desperate, Mom said, and for once there was no manipulation in her voice. If we take this loan, we'll be in debt for years. Audrey can't find work with a criminal record. I might lose my job when they run the background check for my renewal certification. We're drowning here. I looked at both of them, at the ruins of their lives. Part of me felt satisfaction, but another part of me, the part that remembered family dinners and birthday parties and Mom teaching me to ride a bike, felt a flicker of something. Not forgiveness, not yet. Maybe never, but something softer than pure rage. Here's what's going to happen, I said slowly. You're going to take that loan. You're going to pay me back every penny within 30 days like the court ordered. And then you're both going to therapy. Real therapy, not court-mandated counseling. You're going to figure out why you thought it was okay to treat me like your personal ATM for 25 years. Audrey opened her mouth to argue, but I held up a hand. And if you actually do the work, actually change, actually show real remorse over the course of several years, maybe we can rebuild something. But it won't be what it was. It'll never be what it was. Because that version of our family was built on you two using me, and I'm done being used. Mom's eyes filled with tears. Nick, please. There's something else. The trust fund. Your father mentioned you're enforcing the forfeiture clause. That's our future. That's our security. So Dad had already contacted them. Good. Yeah. You committed fraud against me. Grandpa's trust is clear about what happens when you do that. That's $200,000, Audrey shouted. That's my inheritance. You can't just take it. I'm not taking it. You're forfeiting it. Big difference. Grandpa saw this coming. He knew what you both were capable of and built in protection for the family. Now that protection's being triggered because you proved him right. Mom sank into a chair, face in her hands. We'll have nothing. No savings. No nest egg. Nothing. You'll have what everyone else has. What you earn through your own work. Welcome to how the rest of us live. The silence that followed was heavy, broken only by Audrey's quiet crying. I felt no triumph. Just a weird emptiness, like closing the door on a chapter of my life I'd never wanted to write in the first place. I'm going now, I said, heading toward the door. You've got 27 days to make the restitution payment. After that, we'll see. Nick, wait. Mom's voice stopped me at the threshold. Do you hate us? I turned back, saw not the manipulative mother who'd stolen from me, but a broken woman who'd destroyed her own family through greed and favoritism. No, I said honestly. I don't hate you. I just don't trust you. And I don't know if I ever will again. That's on you to fix, not me. I walked out, got in my car, and drove away. 4 weeks later, the initial restitution payment hit my account, on the last possible day before they'd be in violation of probation. I deposited it, watched my savings balance return to where it should be, and felt a weight lift off my shoulders. 2 months after that, the trust forfeiture was finalized. I received a check for $140,000, my share of the redistributed funds. Put it in a high-yield savings account and didn't touch it. That money was my future, my emergency fund, my security blanket that no one could steal. Well, they could try. But we've established how that works out. Mom texted me occasionally. Updates about her therapy sessions, apologies that felt more genuine each time. Small attempts to rebuild a bridge between us. I responded sometimes. Short, polite, but distant. Audrey stopped reaching out after I didn't respond to her 5th or 6th apology text. Heard through family that Peter had moved to another state, that she was working at a call center trying to rebuild her life. Good. She needed to learn what actual work felt like. They'd tried to drown me with their entitlement and manipulation. Instead, they drowned themselves. And me? I learned to swim. YouTube just dropped this new hype feature. If you're hooked on this story, smash that hype button. It tells YouTube this video deserves to blow up, and it keeps even crazier stories coming your way.